Hey guys, this is another little blab about tire pressure. You'll notice a lot of manufacturers in their tire pressure recommendations will recommend a little bit more pressure on the front. And that is because not only that usually there's more weight on the front of the car, but also because if there's the stiffer front end will make the car understeer a little more. So if you want more balanced handling, you want to reduce your understeer, you put a rear stabilizer bar in your car, and that stiffens up your back, and that when you turn a corner, more of the car leaning is being held up by the back, and because of that, once you start to reach the limits of traction, the back end, because it's doing more to hold it up, is going to be the first to break away, relatively speaking. Now, usually the fronts are cars, manufacturers build a car so that you're going to get a little bit understeer or a lot of understeer, or at least some understeer. Manufacturers are kind of reluctant to make a car with oversteer built right into it. They can do only so much. Obviously, sometimes the suspension design, the weight distribution can play a role in whether a car understeers and oversteers. The dimensions of the car can play a factor, but all else being equal, the stiffer, whether the front or the rear, that'll promote understeer, oversteer. So understeer, you want a stiffer front end. For oversteer, you want a stiffer rear end. So you can play with the tire pressures a little bit that way, and change the handling and the balance of the car a little bit to some extent. The other thing, keep in mind when you're using the tire pressures too, if you're wanting to put more tire pressure in the rear, what kind of suspension does your car have? Because you'll find that with a car with a solid rear axle, and that's the trade-off with a solid rear axle, is that the stiffer the back end is, the rougher, the harder the ride is, and because it doesn't have that independent action. When you hit a bump, the whole car is upset. The whole rear end of the car is upset, rather than just the one independent wheel. So when you start to increase your air pressure on the back tires, or you put a rear, similar to putting a rear stabilizer bar in a car, it could exaggerate and exasperate the solid rear axle feeling and tendency. And some people may not care. You're driving a pickup truck, who cares? That's the feeling, that's the nature you get. But you're driving a little car that happens to have a solid rear axle, and you start to get the back end too stiff, and it just plays funny with the steering. It pulls it around, and you feel like you're driving a truck, and you're not, and not very satisfactory to drive. Kind of annoying, and feels unsophisticated, feels cheap. It feels a little bit more effort to drive the car. So there is a little blab with the air pressure between the front and rear, by playing around with it a little bit. You could even, if you find your back end too stiff, especially the solid rear axle, maybe take 1 pound pressure out of your what the manufacturer recommends. Also, the tires can make a difference. Different manufacturer tires may ride differently, so you may want to play around with the tire pressure a little bit because of that. But again, the amounts are going to be quite minimal, but it's fun to play around with it, and it's something that you can do, and it doesn't cost you anything. So there is a couple tire tips there that maybe you don't find that information or be described that way, because there's a little bit more to the just making sure the tire pressure is at the manufacturer, what it says on the side of the door. There's, for an enthusiast, there's a little bit more you can play with, and it's kind of fun. So why not? And it's free. So there you are, and little tip for tire pressures. And thank you for watching.